Hey guys, welcome to the SimRacingPaddock. I'm William Marsh, and we are going to be live streaming rFactor 2 today. One of the exciting announcements that came from the Sim Racing Expo in the Nordschleife was, actually Nürburgring, was that we are getting not one, not two, but we are getting 3 classic McLaren Formula One cars, best of all, for free. I reached out to rFactor 2, and they are allowing me to do an early release, take a look, impressions of it. So I have it loaded up in rFactor 2, and I'm going to test them out and see how they feel, how they are. So 1 second, let me make sure my game capture is set up properly. And it is not, so good thing I checked that real quick. So hopefully everyone had a great weekend. I would have loved to make it to the Sim Racing Expo this past weekend, but unfortunately life got a little in the way, and it is a little unfortunate. But hey, at least we can reap in a little of the benefits from what we got to see. So hopefully everyone had a good weekend. Also, thankfully, I got to actually have my sister and brother-in-law visit, so that's why I didn't really do much in the way of live streaming this past weekend. So nice to be back in the seat and getting back in the swing of things. I just actually got the Next Level Racing FGT cockpit, so I was able to actually I need to build that later this week, so I will get that done as well. Come on, there's the game capture kicking in. So we can take a look in the car list. We have McLaren, actually not new, but we had the 650S GT3 from the GT3 pack. Okay, G-Runner just released the cars 3 minutes ago. So they are free. I believe you need to download them from the Steam Workshop. So you can go to Steam Workshop, look up Studio 397, and the car should be there now. So I think that is good. So, first car, McLaren M23. As raced, I believe, by James Hunt. He raced number 11 in 1976 season. Let's check real quick if it's that car specifically. So McLaren, I don't see any number for Hunt, but I believe that is James Hunt's number 11 McLaren. So that is cool to see. And then there are different liveries for the McLaren Shadow competition. So the McLaren Shadow competition is their new time trial, and you are actually able to use the McLaren cars, compete in McLaren Shadow, apparently, if you don't own the game, if I remember correctly. So, G-Runner, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe part of the McLaren Shadow competition is you can actually race it with the demo. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I heard in that announcement at the expo. But yeah, so you have their generic liveries. I believe Race Department, they'll whip up some cool liveries for the M23 in the future. But also that should actually also work well with some of the other classic F1 cars that came out, like the March 761 and the Brabham BT44. So yeah. And then the next car is the McLaren MP4 from 1993, also known as my birth year. So, if I remember correctly, this was Ayrton Senna's last year in McLaren before going over to Williams and then his sad passing. But yeah, so this is based off of the 1993 car, and it's funny seeing the Kmart ad on the car, because back in the day when Kmart actually had enough money to sponsor race cars. So yeah, this car looks pretty cool as well. I want to try to go into these in chronological order, so we will take a look at that. So yeah, McLaren MP4 and then the McLaren MP4 13. If I remember correctly, I think this is, or 1 second, Tokena just provided a link. Let me just approve that. So there we go. So McLaren MP4 13, I want to say it's based off of 1998. I think it's the 1998 car. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so you see this, and you can adjust the different steering configurations. So that's pretty cool. So recommended, and then I guess for wheels such as maybe Logitech Momo or budget wheels like the Thrustmaster T80 that can't adjust to hit 540 degrees of rotation, they have original method. That's pretty cool. McLaren MP4 13, Mika Hakkinen, yes. Fun fact, this is a very weird fun fact. At my, I was in an acting class a few years ago, and I had a classmate, female classmate, named Mika. Her parents named her Mika after Mika Hakkinen. So, yeah, it was interesting hearing about that. So, first off, we are going to start with the McLaren M23 from James Hunt. And one track I did want to test out, I saw was recently updated. Third-party track, Watkins Glen. Somebody actually got permission to convert the LiDAR scanned Watkins Glen third-party track from Assetto Corsa, and they released it for rFactor 2. So I'm interested in seeing how that works, how it performs. So let's take a look with that car. And I think Watkins Glen, that's a good fit for a classic Formula One car, because back in the day, they actually raced there. Alright, I'm not sure if they raced in 76. I think they did, but I know like there was the 1971 or so wreck that killed a driver, sadly. But yeah, so let's test out this track and see how it goes. Now we just wait. And I think this is going to be a longer loading time for this first load of the track because of it being the first time I'm loading this track. I literally just installed it into rFactor 2, so it has to load up shaders and everything. Also, speaking of shaders, I want your guys' opinion. So Studio 397, they did announce that there is the new shaders, new graphics overhaul coming, and I'm really excited for that, but there's still a couple of questions that need to be answered. For example, are they going to improve shadow draw distance? Some of that is abysmal in rFactor 2. That's something that really does need to be improved on. And Marfran, yes, that's what I was told. GRunner28, he is a Studio 397 staff member, so he does that. So again, I've talked about this before. One of the downsides with rFactor 2 is you need to adjust the degrees of rotation manually for each car. So I have my wheel set to 540. We needed to set it to 569 degrees. Interesting choice. I'm not sure why they didn't do 570 or something. And then 30% car-specific strength multiplier. I do force feedback smoothing at 5. I know that's kind of high, but for the direct drive wheel, it doesn't have much in the way of damping naturally. So at high speeds, I found it could shake a bit. Let's turn on telemetry, though, so you can now see my speed and gear indicator. I'm using my Heusinkveld Engineering Sim Shifter Sequential for this because of I'm just not really able to have an H pattern shifter fit on this cockpit, which is unfortunate, but we'll make do with what we got. So it'll be interesting to see how this compares to the Assetto Corsa version. Again, they did say it was LiDAR scanned, which is nice. So I forget what they said the speed limit was. 50 miles an hour, okay. No pit speed limiter on this. Yeah, Agnes, it does adjust automatically with the T300, but it's an issue with the SimuCube. It's an issue with the SimuCube software. Oh, no game sound. Okay, thanks for that. Let's fix that real quick. Sorry about that. Let's try now. There we go. That's sound, and it looks like it's okay. Let me know how it sounds, if audio levels are okay. But I loved this sound of these classic Formula One cars back in the day. It just, yeah, I want to say this uses a V8. It doesn't sound like the V10 or V12, but V8, Ford Cosworth, I believe. Pretty raw sounding. Not as visceral as, say, Race Room, but I think slightly better sound than, say, Assetto Corsa. And one of the fun facts is I'm wondering, so there is a sound modder that made his name making sound mods for Assetto Corsa. And then he got hired by Studio 397, and that's Fonseca. Fonseca made some of the great sound mods for rFactor, or for Assetto Corsa, and then he actually got contracted by Studio 397. So I think it works well. Whoa! Just nudged the wall there. I think I have damage off, actually, or else that would have caused some damage. I'm on the damage bar right now for the bottom right display. Let's switch that over. Yep, invulnerability's on. So yeah, let's talk about the feeling of this car right now. There was this McLaren M23 mod for Assetto Corsa, and it feels pretty decent for this. It feels pretty good. Nice feeling of the car suspension loading up into force feedback. In my opinion, rFactor 2, while it's finicky, it has some of the better force feedback around. You need to adjust some text files to get the most out of it, but in reality, it is really good once you get it dialed in. Feeling the sensation over the curbs, things like that. So there's that. Right now, I'm using the Formula rim with this. I'm using the Formula rim, which it might be less than ideal because these cars used round wheels at the time, but I didn't really want to use my Forza Motorsport rim because it has a very, very wide base. But yeah, so it feels relatively controllable. I mean, stomp the throttle too hard, you are definitely going to spin. So keep that in mind. Same sound as the March. Well, I believe the March used the same engine. March used the Ford Cosworth as well. So I'm not sure if it's just them being slightly lazy, or is it because historical authenticity they use the same engine. I would imagine different exhausts would make different sounds, though. So who knows? Vincent, I've talked with JCL before, and their US distributor their North America distributor contacted me asking if I'd be interested in reviewing. I'm kind of swamped with cockpit reviews at the moment, so I said maybe when I get a few more reviews done, then I could take a look at JCL. I am going to be taking a look at SimLab very soon, though. SimLab, that'll be one that I'm excited to test out. And it seems like they're fairly reasonably priced, but they don't actively have a US distribution center around here yet. I've heard they are planning on it, but they provide really good prices, I think. But yeah, so my early thoughts on this car, it feels good. It does. You can push, you can cross over that edge a little bit and still control it. You have the slip, tire slipping, catch that slide. Feels like a very fun classic car. Also, it reminds me of the Formula Retro in Automobilista. So I'm happy with how this is feeling so far. You can really control the car with the gas and brake. That's one thing I'm really noticing. That's one thing I've heard from like historical articles about these cars, where you can control the car with the brake. So get that rear end to step out a bit for good drive out of the corner. And yeah, so you can see I gave it a little too much gas right there. So yeah, it's that kind of bleeding edge, but it's at the same time kind of dulled compared to some of the other cars nowadays. Where if you think about it, Formula One cars you're on such a tightrope driving them that it's so much aerodynamic grip. It's very aero dependent nowadays. So driving cars like this, where it's actually more mechanical grip than, say, aero, you're relying on getting that slip angle of it. You're relying a little bit more on your tires and suspension rather than the wings. These were the early eras of aerodynamics. Consider late 60s, like the Brabham BT 20 that's in rFactor 2. You didn't have wings. If anything, at high speed, sometimes those cars generated a little bit of lift. So that's a big struggle. So this was the early era of aero. So sure, they did push the car down a little bit, but not much. So driving these cars, a lot of fun. Throwing into corner, getting the rear end to step out. I mean, that's definitely not fast, but I just wanted to show, make an example. But yeah, so far, thoughts on McLaren M23? Pretty fun. Let's take a little look into replay, listen to the external sounds, and see how it is. External sounds sound a little flat, in my opinion. Thank you, Tibor, for subscribing. Thank you. But yeah, in my opinion, it's sounding a little flat. Now 10 Ho BR Turbo. Thank you for subscribing. So yeah, external sounds. It's kind of similar to that March. The March left the sounds to be desired, so maybe in a future patch they could enhance it. But I think this is showing that, yeah, this car and the March, they are sharing sounds, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think this external sound needs a little bit of work. iRacing, they do a good job with the external Cosworth sounds. I think also Automobilista they do, but yeah, this sound needs a little bit of work. But the internal sounds good. The internal sounds good. That's what I think a lot of people are going to focus on. But yeah, this external sound, it's leaving, in my opinion, quite a bit to be desired. So yeah, but so far, driving this car is fun. Niki Lauda Formula One. No, this is the James Hunt one. To my knowledge, there might be a 1976 mod that has the Ferrari 312T, or is it 312T2 that Lauda drove? But yeah, so that car, it's not first-party content, but I believe there might be a free mod that simulates the 1976 season. But with all mods, your mileage may vary. But yeah, this is the McLaren M23 that James Hunt drove in 1976. So, next up on the roster, we have the MP4 8. So I believe that Senna drove the 7. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was 7. So, let's go to another track now. Let's go to one of the infamous ones with Lauda, Suzuka, except in rFactor 2. It's a third-party affiliate track called Matsu. Oh, never mind. Tokina, you just gave a better idea. So, Interlagos. So, or wait, no, they called it something else in rFactor 2, I think. What did they call it? Oh, Senna drove the 8. Okay. My bad. What the heck did they call it? I could have sworn I have it installed. Oh, Sao Paulo. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, and this is a track that's been pretty well optimized for DX11. So let's jump in the 8. And hopefully not blaspheme Ayrton Senna's name. Okay, we'll do the practice and see how this car feels. So yeah, this car does not, to my knowledge, run on a Cosworth engine. I believe this was still maybe the V6, or no, I might have been moved up to the 8 era. Okay, so let's take a look. So yeah, this was, I believe, based off the 93 season, where admittedly they kind of, like McLaren, they did get beat by Williams because Williams had that active suspension, if I remember correctly. They had the active suspension dialed in. So let's take a look at the degrees of rotation in this car. 450. Let me check something real quick. But you do have the option of changing your steering wheel range. You can go down all the way down to 240 degrees or up to 450. Okay, the 8 was a Ford engine. Okay, thank you. So I need to go back into my SimiCube settings and change to 450. There we go. That's 450 degrees. And let me check something real quick. There we go. We are good to go. Let's hop in this car. Again, I'm going to use sequential. So what's funny is the sound of this car reminds me of the 1990s Indy cars. So why is my steering off? Hold on a second. My steering is a little off. Sorry, I just need to address that real quick. It's not steering assist, so settings. 450 degrees, yes. And then 450 degrees in rFactor 2. That is correct. So that should be fine for me. So I guess there might be a glitch right now with the steering lock. Hold on. That's 400 degrees steering lock. Not 450. Hold on. That's 400 degrees. Let's check something. I'm going to go down to 400 degrees in SimiCube and see if that matches. Nope. Oh yeah, auto upshift and auto downshift. Those are implemented in this car, so let's do 450 here. Oh, now it works. Okay, that was a glitch in SimiCube, not a glitch in rFactor 2. So it was a SimiCube glitch. So with this car, this tests out the auto upshift or the auto shifting. So I can shift up. Whoops. I stalled it. My bad. It's not rFactor 2 issues. It was actually SimiCube issues. There we go. The limit 62. No pit speed limiter on this car. Back in days when you actually had to control your speed. So one thing worth mentioning is that number under the RPM meter. That is actually for RPMs. That is not for speed. So that is for RPM. So you multiply your number by, I believe, 10. And you get your RPMs. So that's not your speed on the tack. That threw me off at first, but then I realized what it actually was. So you can see it's auto shifting. That is built into the setup. You can either turn that on or off. I guess some cars in this era had auto shifting. So you can see in my assists right there, it is, oh, it's times 100. Thanks, Collier. Collier, whatever. But yeah, you can see on the assists, auto shift is off. But it's part of the setup. After a lap or so, I'll go into the setup and we can adjust it. But yeah, doesn't the sound of this car remind me, or remind you of like the older Indy cars? Which I liked a lot. that kind of sound. Again, it's not as raw or visceral as other cars in other sims, but it's pretty nice. And this car is a little more aero dependent than, say, that older McLaren M23 we were driving before. Keep on running wide there. I think I need to work on a later apex there. That, I think, is my thought. So again, this is a third-party affiliate track. I believe it was made by Ryza Studios. I believe some of these had auto shifting in real life, or why would they have it in the setup as an option? And then I believe also, to think about it, some of the cars in Automobilista, they did have the auto shifting option in the setup. So I would hope it's realistic, because it's turned on by default. Yeah, I think the baseline for this might be a medium downforce, so it seems like it's not turning in as sharp as, say, maybe with a high downforce setup. I'm not sure. Or it's just because I've gotten spoiled by modern open wheelers. But still, this car isn't as aero dependent as the modern cars, so you can get a little bit of slip. And by little, I mean not much, but you can get some. Sounds like a MotoGP bike. Yeah, I think because MotoGP bikes, they had their inline fours, so they're basically half a V8. That's why sometimes, for example, V6s can have sounds reminiscent of V12s. Whoa, got a little loose there on the curb. Gotta be careful, because remember, these cars have insane power. Hey, Flow's doing pretty well. How about yourself? I just keep on missing that apex there. Keep on turning later than I think I should. But driving even with like GT cars, they have less downforce, but you're not going as fast. This sensation of speed is intense. Well, different things come into play for determining cars' pitch. Another one that's big is displacement. If you think about it, Formula One cars, race cars, things like that. So those kind of cars, they do have higher cylinder counts for the most part, especially the older ones, but they had less displacement. So if you think about it, displacement, it's the amount of air or oil, or not oil, but like fuel, right, that's being displaced when the engine is moving up. So the amount of air and fuel mixture that's let into the cylinder, and then compressed, sparked, explosion, boom. So I'd say less displacement would be a higher pitch. If you think about it, the big American muscle cars, those are massive displacement, and that gives a very, very big, throaty, growly noise. Okay, displacement is exclusively air. Yes. Thank you for that. But yeah, so displacement, it's how much air is being displaced, and yeah, so with that, so this car would be, it is a V8, but I want to say it might be like, say, sub 3 liter of displacement V8. Say a big American muscle car, you could be looking at a 7.2 liter V8. So it's that kind of idea. So after this lap, I will switch to manual shifting and see how that goes. Okay, it's a 3.5 liter. But yeah, some modern American muscle cars are twice that. Or maybe, like, I wouldn't say triple, but some of them are approaching like 8 liters. The Mercedes AMG GT, or like the Mercedes SLS AMG was a 6.2 liter V8. And that had a very, very nice noise. Like, it had a mix. It had a mix. So yeah, race car lock, that's, I believe that's how it is. So again, external sounds aren't that great in this. I mean, they're okay. They're better than that M23, but I don't think they're as good as other titles. So now we have auto upshift and auto downshift off. So we can go in the car. Hold on a second, just want to check something. Okay, we're good. Well, yeah, so far, I'm really enjoying this car. But these inside car, like not inside, interior sounds, I really like them. Davy Jones, this is the McLaren MP4 8, which raced in the 1993 Formula One season, if I remember correctly. So let me see if I need to blip for the downshift. Or actually, we'll get up to a corner and check. Looks like you don't really need to blip, but I still like to for rev matching. What time is it on the track right now? It's saying that is 4:41 p.m. Looks like a dark 4:41. So you're noticing that I'm able to downshift faster with the manual shifting down, which is nice. You can control your RPMs, which could be good in a fuel conservation situation. Got a little greedy in that corner. Gotta be careful with the throttle there, because there's so much power behind this car. It's deceptive. And then that dirt just caused me to miss that apex. Yeah, I'm wondering what date they're basing this track off of, because what's interesting is in rFactor 2, each track has its own set date. It has its own set date to correspond. So for example, I believe their Indianapolis is set to May when the Indianapolis 500 is. So that's when you have that. So the time of day is based off of a day in May. And May, it gets darker a little later. And say if this was set in maybe September, October, which I believe back then that's when the round of the Brazilian Grand Prix was, it could get darker earlier or something like that. So it could be a mix of things. But yeah, this car is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. It's deceptively easy to drive. I can imagine it's a major challenge to drive hard. Major challenge to drive hard. But yeah, I'm starting to feel the car break free a little bit. There we go. Let's try pushing one more lap. There we go. Good run out of the corner. Good run out of that corner. I left a lot on table there, but then I completely messed up this corner and next one, and I'm in trouble. But yeah, I did talk with Marcel Offermans a while ago. He did say, in theory, it could be relatively easy to implement a date switcher for the tracks. And I don't know how easy, relatively easy is though, but yeah, that could be a cool idea where you could adjust the date. So say in the summer it would get darker later, or in the winter it would get darker earlier. Okay, one more lap. This car is that much fun and I want to get a good lap. Okay, brake. Way too late, dang it. We'll be able to make some time next in this area, I think. I'm starting to feel the tires drop off a little bit. Rear end's starting to step out a little more. Gotta be careful there. Alright, I'm calling it. We need to jump to the next car. I could drive this car for hours, so it is that much fun. I'm enjoying this a lot. So yeah, auto shift is in the setup screen as we saw. It's under the gear ratios, so you can adjust the upshift RPM. So this is the RPM range where it is going to upshift. Once it hits 13,300, it'll upshift. You can fine tune it to try to keep it in power band. So you can keep that in mind. Okay, so last car we are going to test out is the McLaren MP4 13. So, funny thing, when I was originally watching the announcement for these cars, at one point I thought they said MP4 30. I was like, wait, what? We're getting a newer car? And yeah, they said 13, but still 13. Fun car. And this is based off of the 1998 Formula One car. So this was, I believe, Mika Häkkinen won the championship in 98. So we get to drive this car. So yeah, here it has, this was like the design, I guess, to appease different countries that didn't allow for alcohol. So Mika instead of, I forget what other logo it was. So what I am going to do with this car, though, is I'm going to take it to the Indianapolis road course. So Indianapolis, they used to host the U.S. Grand Prix back in the day. So yeah, we have the layout. This was the older layout. This is what they race now in IndyCar, which it does have that fast chicane there, but I believe this is a little more fun. Okay, it was West sponsor. Okay. Oh, it was tobacco. Okay. Sorry about that. I got a little confused. Slightly mixed up. Why not the oval? Because, hey, you see about a third of the oval here, but just, it's a little more fun racing on the road course, personally. I would need to just really tweak the setup to really work effectively on the oval, or else you would just not be going through it fast, and it would be kind of boring. Yeah, this loaded a little faster. But yeah, this will bring up one of my complaints for rFactor 2, though, when we're driving with this. So, this 400... no, I hit the wrong button. Wrong button. Sorry, guys. I meant to hit back, and I hit the wrong buttons. Kieran, I believe they're out now. I think they said they released it in the middle of this stream. Daniel, I know there's no USGP. Full House, I have not yet. I've been busy. I had family over this weekend, so didn't really get the opportunity to. He quit hitting the wrong buttons. Okay. So, I wanted to go into the garage screen. So here, there's no upshift RPM. You can see there. So, you have the steering rack, and then... so yeah, you can change the ratio. I found that medium was a little snappy for my liking, so I'm going to go to slow, I think. I need to change my degrees of rotation in SimiCube real quick. So it was 420 degrees of rotation. So we can hop in there. Boom. Get into race. Yes. Oh, nope. That is still slightly off. That is weird. Because it stops in about the same spot, but when it's there, it's a little past. It'll be okay, though. So. V10 sound. Yeah, buddy. Again, not as raw as Race Room, but still sounds pretty good. This does have the speed limiter, though, because it did in real life. So again, RPM is on the left on the display. Speed is on the right. Gear indicator in the middle. So, my complaint with rFactor 2 here. Look at the shadows. Look at the draw distance. Keep in mind, this is an officially licensed track updated to DirectX 11 standards. So keep that in mind. And the shadow draw distance for this particularly is incredibly poor. So we'll see it more on the front straight because you don't have much shadow here because this portion of the track is kind of barren. But I believe as we're going to come up onto this next straight, you will see the shadows cast by the fences. So here, look at the shadow quality. It's like 10 feet until I guess you call it LODB or LOD2, which it's a significant drop off. It is incredibly distracting for this track. Do they model the twin braking pedal? I do not know. But yeah, so that shadow, like, okay, lighting system will be completely overhauled. I'm excited for that. They need to improve the shadow draw distance because that's one of the reasons. I know this is a petty reason. That's one of the reasons I can't race on oval, because you can see just how horrible those shadows are. So this car, I'll be kind of blunt. This is my least favorite of the pack. Partly because I'm somewhat biased to classic cars. I mean, I like the sound of this car, don't get me wrong, but it just, I don't get that great feeling that I get with the others. I mean, this is really when cars started becoming a little more aero dependent, a little more finicky, a little more touchy. So this is like, it's tough. So yeah, I mean, Race Car Lock, this is a classic car to me because I was born in '93 as well. But with this, still, it's like, this kind of car, I mean, I'll say it's a similar mentality I have to Empty Box. Empty Box and I have that sort of similar mindset where these newer cars are more technological than really just like they not should be, but it becomes more about the car than the driver, in my opinion. But yeah, the sound in this is awesome. The driving feel, these cars feel almost too snappy. Too snappy. And yeah, it just doesn't feel as almost like magical as the other cars. The other cars, it just has everything melding together in a great way. This car, it just feels more like just point, shoot. Granted, I'm not that good with this car, so my opinion might be just I'm full of crap. But yeah, so I will show the external sounds after driving a couple laps. But yeah, 2002 to 2005 era, like those cars screamed. Good racing wheel with rim and pedals for $350. I'd say for that budget, I know you're saying $350. Look $400 budget. $400 budget gets you the Thrustmaster T300 RS and the T3 PA pedals with a good rim too. Good rim too. So look at that. I believe there's it's the Ferrari Challenge rim or something like that. So T300 RS with the Ferrari rim. It's nice. It's, I think, like an Alcantara finish. So that's what I might recommend. Okay, let's try getting a good lap in, though. But it just feels weird. At the limit of grip with this car, I haven't really found it. So it just feels like the car just wants to turn in more and more and more when I'm like seemingly pushing a limit. Maybe I'm not pushing hard enough. But here, it's like it either wants to just snap turn in, or it is just going to just push like no tomorrow. It just feels like there's no middle ground line. Auto shift hotkey, I believe, is F7, yes. Auto clutch is F11, F6 is invulnerability, I think. But yeah, I suck at this track. Might not have been my smartest move, but you can just see how quickly that car just snapped around right there. Okay. Clutch in. Get car under control. Hey, TM Gaming, how's it going? Doing pretty well, personally. Oh, that low RPM shift sound sounds amazing, though. Okay, let's get a good lap in now, guys. But yeah, there, yeah, just have to keep from turning in too much. My opinion on these McLaren cars, they are a blast to drive. Personally, I'm more inclined towards the retro vintage cars. So the 1976 McLaren M23, the 1993 McLaren MP4 This car is fun, but it's weird in my opinion. This car is kind of weird. That's the best way for me to put it. It's weird in the sense that you don't get a good feeling for the edge of grip. It's either going to turn in like just insane amount, turn in so much that you have to keep from steering too much, or it just plows. Okay, let's try this again. One shot for good lap, and then we'll look at exterior sounds and then sign off. That was better. That was not. Okay, we're gonna have to do another lap. Hashtag one more lap. Anyone know how to reach Mika Hakkinen? No? I wish. That would be freaking awesome. But this car is fun. It's fun. So, one more lap. Start pushing a little harder. Whoa, that was oversteer. Again, this car is a beast. Because I think this was before the era of traction control. Oh! See, try pushing too hard and boom, you're in trouble. And consider, I'm using the slow steering ratio. I'm not even using the fast steering ratio, I think. Oh man, the sound of the car just catching those gears at lower RPMs. Oh, great sound. Okay, hashtag one more lap. You can hear the scream echoing off the wall of the engine too. Oh yeah, the way that car just turns in, it cuts like a, just cuts on a dime. It's insane. That section feels like you're going so slow, but that's how you have to navigate there. That's the tricky part. Just locked up the brakes. Ay. Yeah, I don't know what, like. But man, this car is, it really is so much fun. I mean, I'm getting frustrated by it, but I'm saying that in the best possible way. In the best possible way, I'm getting downright frustrated. It's a car you want to tame. And it just gives you so much appreciation for the drivers who drove this in real life. This is a championship winning car. And this thing is a freaking beast. We need to get one more clean lap. Here we go. But how many times have I said one more lap already in this stream? I mean, for this car alone, I've said it like 3 or 4 times. There we go. That's a good runoff on this straight. Be careful not to lock the brakes again. Again, very slow section. That's why Indy was such a challenging track. And that's one of the things I miss from it nowadays. Nowadays, Indy is easy by comparison, I think. I should make a shirt that just says, one more lap. And boom. I want one more lap. I want one more. I can do better. I might be getting greedy, though. Ooh, little lock up there. But yeah, I'd say that this is exactly showcasing what I'm loving about rFactor 2 right now. It's not the best looking title. It really isn't. Hopefully the new update will improve it. It has its issues. As I mentioned, I'm pissed at the shadows. And at the same time, I'm having issues stopping. It's like, yeah, you get hooked in the great driving feel. And I mean, I'm sucking with this car, but still, it's a heck of a lot of fun. So, closing thoughts, though. I'm going to give you my closing thoughts. I am enjoying these cars, and for free. I mean, I did complain in the past about, I think, Studio 397 doing a little too much expensive DLC. But these are 3 McLaren cars they're giving away for free. 3 McLarens they're giving away for free. You can't really complain with that. I'm sure someone might say, oh, why didn't they do the McLaren MP4? The McLaren MP4 8's a blast to drive. That McLaren M23, it's a historically significant championship winning car. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. So yeah, this, I'd say, is a successful release. If you haven't already, check out the Steam Workshop for rFactor 2. It should be there. They're all free. You just select the car, subscribe in the Steam Workshop, and you should be able to find them. But yeah, I'm going to do one more lap and then sign off. And we'll see if we can beat our PB. Little oversteer there. Whoa, no. Oh, that hurt. But I'm committing to that one more lap, I think. Ay, 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 the brake bias. That thing is a beast. Okay. We can't end like that. We can't end like that. We're... Hashtag one more lap. We had... Our tires are likely shot, but one more lap. We're gonna push. We're gonna push harder than the Cleveland Browns throwing away a game. Oh, we had such a great... Oh. One more lap. I just need a clean lap. Let's try this first gear. There we go. And a new personal best to wrap it up. I will take that. And then let's celebrate a bit. Took us way too much time. Okay. So, closing thoughts. Free DLC. Where can you go wrong with that? Where can you go wrong with that? I mean, we did like 21 more laps, but man, this car is a blast, but it is a beast to drive. My personal favorite, I'm going to go with the McLaren M23. That McLaren is a blast to drive. You get that rudimentary understanding of the downforce of the car, but it's very mechanical grip dependent. The McLaren MP4 is another very fun car. It really is a lot of fun. This car, I struggled with. It sounds like patched up Demon, you're saying default setup is garbage with this car. So I might need to dive into the setup, get it a little more controllable, a little more fun. But yeah, bottom line, bravo Studio 397, bravo. This was great. I think they might have won Sim Racing Expo in my book. They had this announcement, and boom, day after the expo, the cars are released. They announced Laser Scan Nürburgring Nordschleife. That is big. This is big. And then, boom, they announced they're improving the graphics. I'll believe the improved graphics when I see them. No pun intended. But so far, I'm excited. This pack leaves a good taste in my mouth, at least, for the most part. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Studio 397 comes up with next. I heard they are announcing more cars and tracks before end of 2018. But yeah, again, they need to improve these shadows. These shadows are garbaggio. So yeah, I've been asked this. I've probably been asked this, but did I try to set a Corsa version? I have. I think it's a little more stable default setup. And that's a good thing. Next update, I have no clue. I'll have to reach out to Marcel and ask and see if I can get an update on how things are going. But yeah, so far, I am very happy with this pack. It's a lot of fun, and for free, if you own rFactor 2, why not? Why not? So yeah. So guys, thanks for watching. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. For the Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and you have a good one.